In our previous videos, we have discussed the events leading up to the Battle of Khanwa as well as the details of what actually transpired on the battlefield. In this video, we will bring to light the various possible factors which led to the eventual outcome of that military engagement on the 27th day of March of the year 1527. Even after Sanga had decided not to accept Babur's proposal for an alliance against the Afghans, he did not take advantage of the Afghan and Mughal preoccupation during the Battle of Panipat and as a result did not capture Agra. Had he done so, he would have not only acquired the immense treasures and resources, but also the support of the defeated Afghans. Furthermore, biding his time, he started seizing territory from the Afghans instead of making preparation for a contest with Babur, allowing the Mughals to get stronger than they were at Panipat. Sanga continued being overcautious, even when the battle with the Mughals was inevitable. After conquering Bayana, he proceeded to Khanwa by a long route that took him about a month, though Khanwa could have been reached in a day's time, thus allowing ample time for Babur to complete his preparations. Some historians consider not allying with the Afghans even before Babur's invasion to be a mistake of Sanga's. However, it must be kept in mind that at the time Afghans and Rajputs were in conflict. No one could have distinguished the Mughals as conquerors from raiders and looters. So, any Rajput-Afghan alliance at the time seems far-fetched. There was consolidation and compactness in the Turkic army, while there was lack of both in the Rajput army. Babur had fewer soldiers, but they were all of one mind and determined to follow him to any extremities. He did not allow his half-hearted allies to stay with him, but sent them to different places on one pretext or another. On the other hand, Sanga's army had larger numbers, but it was essentially a collection of various smaller armies, thereby lacking cohesion. The Rajputana Confederacy had been set up for this battle and Sanga was in command of various Rajput chiefs, many of whom had been in conflict with Mewar at one point or another. Their hearts were not in the task, and in fact when the battle was over, each of the different Rajput clans departed for its own home, as if they had been happily rid of a powerful overlord. Some Afghans were also allied with the Rajputs, and they looked forward to the re-establishment of their own empire after the battle. So, clearly this was a temporary arrangement and had a huge risk of failing. It was Sanga's own personality that formed the only slender bond which somehow kept the fragile coalition united. Rajput and Mughal tactics on the battlefield of Khanwa differed immensely. As discussed previously, the Rajput army consisted of soldiers from various Rajput clans which owed allegiance to their own chiefs and not to Sanga, and they had their own traditional systems of warfare. Hence, they were not amenable to discipline and were held together by the slender tie of allegiance to their chiefs and not to the ruler of Mewar. In addition, they were mostly infantrymen and were opposed by superior well-mounted troopers under Babur. Sanga's army was undoubtedly inferior in cavalry to that of Babur, whose strength lay in the predominance of quick and mobile cavalry. The Rajputs possessed no artillery, which was Babur's main strength and the primary cause of success. The Rajputs relied on their time-honored mode of fighting, which was to overwhelm the enemy by the sheer weight of numbers and with elephants. Also, only a small portion of the Rajput army was battle-hardened, and they had much less experience when compared to the Turks, who had fought in numerous battles against various ethnicities in different regions, thereby forming newer strategies. The fort-like arrangement of the Mughal army defended by an array of carts was a novel thing for the Rajputs. Mughal cavalry wheeling round to the Rajput rear delivered charges simultaneously with the murderous fire poured by their guns. Like all Rajputs, Sanga believed in frontal attacks and desired to overthrow the enemy's ranks by sheer physical force, which could not succeed against heavy guns. Lastly, Babur supervised the activity of his men on the battlefield continuously, and thus the Mughals remained in cohesion throughout, whereas Sanga fought in the battle just like a soldier and thus lost touch with various divisions of his army. His injury in the battle and the subsequent removal from the battlefield by his subordinates resulted in utter lack of communication, coordination, and motivation. Under these circumstances, defeat was inevitable for the Rajputs. It is said that a Rajput chief by the name Sulhadi betrayed the Rajput cause by changing sides during the battle. All the blame for the Rajput defeat at Khanwa has been put on him. As we have discussed earlier in the video, other factors had more impact and contributed much more towards the Rajput defeat than a small defection to the enemy's side could have. It is not possible to say with certainty if any such event took place or not, but if it did, it would have happened after an unconscious Sanga had already been taken off the battlefield and the Rajputs were staring at a certain defeat. To summarize, these were the major reasons behind the defeat of Rana Sanga to Babur at Khanwa, which are often overlooked when discussing the event. It can easily be inferred from all the aforementioned facts that the Rajput army, though having superior numbers, was in fact inferior to the Mughal army in every shape and form. This was due to the dearth of firepower and a proficient infantry. To make matters worse, most of their soldiers lacked sufficient military experience and at the same time employed primitive battle tactics which proved to be of no match to the ones employed by the Mughals. To top it all, Babur was an excellent military commander who, unfortunately for Sanga, outwitted him in the battle. In addition, Sanga failed to capitalize on the momentum that his army had after capturing Bayana by not attacking the Mughals immediately while they were not prepared. Thereupon, these facts must be considered in their entirety before hastily accepting the popular narrative of a tiny Mughal army defeating a huge Rajput army, which, as we have seen, is unjust and lacks nuance. We are working on bringing many more such stories to you in the future. Subscribe to our channel to not miss out on them. And consider liking and commenting on this video. Until next time.